Well, I think it's safe to say that all of us can agree that this episode of SmackDown was complete garbage. You know what I mean? And that it completely sucked an ass or two. It's as simple as that. I don't think anybody had any aspirations that this would be a good episode of SmackDown, given that it is the Friday before a big event, which means, of course, as we all know, that we're going to be littered with undercard nobodies taking up TV time that they would otherwise not get, which is exactly what happened. Now, another thing that I should say before we begin is that this SmackDown, in my opinion, was poorly booked. The first segment should have gone last, and the last segment should have gone first. But that's neither here nor there. But as a result of that, this video is going to be very front-loaded because the interesting things happen in the beginning. Probably because Cena had better things to do than hang out with all these jobbers. The show starts, so let's get to it, and let's go do it. And how we do it is segment by segment, fact by fact. So, the show starts up, they're at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. The hater used to live in Newark, New Jersey, and quite frankly, the hater used to live only 1 block away from the Pru. I could walk to the Pru in about 3 minutes from my apartment. And there was all these bars down there that I would hang out at. So if you were there like 10, 20, 15 years ago or so, then you'd know the hater was there and he was a presence in that motherfucker. So I love Newark, New Jersey. Shout out to Jersey. Shout out to Newark. You know what I mean? Shout out to Redman. You know what I mean? A lot of cool people come from Newark. Shaq, Redman, Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci. The list goes on and on. Whitney Houston. You know what I'm saying? The hater was there when Whitney Houston died. Yeah, it's like the whole town was in mourning. Anyways, neither here nor there. Shout out Whitney. But the show starts out. Cena comes out. And he says absolutely nothing because Cucky Rhodes comes out before Cena can say anything, wearing his dumbass windbreaker. He looks like a high school gym teacher. He looks like the coach of a mediocre high school track team. I'm surprised this asshole didn't come out with a clipboard measuring the times that the students take to run 1 mile. This was really, really lame. So he comes out and you think he's going to talk. But guess what, motherfucks? You'd be wrong if you thought that because Cena starts talking. And Cena basically starts saying exactly what happened last week. He says, I told you I was exhausted. I didn't want this match. You forced me into this match. It is what it is, but thank you, right? Cena thanks Cucky and he says, I'm ready. You know, you gave me the kick in the ass that I needed, and now I'm ready to go. Cena, the real Cena, motherfuckers, versus Cody. Cena is talking like a face, and he basically says he wants to leave with the belt, and everyone naturally cheers. Later on, after the segment was over, Michael Cole and Wade Barrett would go on to present this as if like the fans turned and started cheering Cena because Cena seemingly turned face, which is obviously a complete and utter lie. It is categorically false. What actually happened is Michael Cole and Wade Barrett tried to gaslight the viewer into believing that the fans are behind Cena because Cena turned face. No, the fans are behind Cena because Cody Rhodes fucking sucks, and then by comparison, Cena is awesome. Even without comparison, Cena is awesome. That's what happened. Don't let them lie to you, motherfucks. Don't let them do that. Now, insofar as the rest of the segment goes, Cena basically says that he no longer wants to ruin WWE, no longer wants to ruin wrestling. He still wants to leave with the title, but now he's like seen the error of his ways, and basically he says that it was a bad decision to turn heel just to have some good TV moments. Now, this is a terrible segment. I am not going to pretend that I enjoyed this and it was good. This is extremely stupid. Now, the hater, personally, has an inkling that this is obviously, in my opinion, obviously a ruse. I don't think Cena really turned face. I think this is going to be like, a fake out to present Cena as a face so that when Cena low blows and bashes Cody in the head with a belt, that has some gravitas. Or maybe The Rock will show up. I don't know. It could go either way. But in my personal opinion, Cena turning face and Cena pretending to turn face are equally stupid. Number one, if he did in fact turn face, this is retarded, right? This pretty much shows that Lee Fitting, Triple H, Pritchard, fucking Travis Scott, and everybody that they told us was involved in this great move at Elimination Chamber is retarded, like the hater said the night after, or the night of the Chamber, right? And after WrestleMania. They're either dumbasses who don't know what they're doing, and basically they made a categorical error, an abysmal mistake in turning Cena heel, just like I said they did. You know what I mean? That's one possibility. Or I think the more likely possibility is Cena's not turning face, but then that has its own problem. And the problem is it makes Cody Rhodes look like a chump. It makes him look like a retard because the next thing Cucky did was he went and got 2 beers and had a beer with Cena in the middle of the ring. What? Cena made your life a living hell. He cheated to defeat you for the title. Cena still has the title. And after Cucky leaves, Cena goes up to the turnbuckle and holds up the title that he won by cheating. Right? So, like, quite frankly, if Cena's turning face, he should give the title back to Cody. Right? Like, that would be like a real face move because he didn't win it fair and square. He can be like, Cody, it's yours. You know? Or like, I relinquish it. You know, there's no champion and one of us is going to win it at Mania. I mean, at SummerSlam, whatever, right? But I mean, I think he's still heel, but in my opinion, this exposes the mistake either way, right? Either Cena has come to his senses and we're validated in thinking that this was a categorical error, or Cena did not come to his senses, but nevertheless explained to us that this was stupid, right? I mean, the smart ones already knew it was stupid, but the dumb ones maybe are coming along, right? In my personal opinion, either Cena's going to double down on being heel, or if he turned face, the obvious answer is that if Cena were heel, everybody knows that, especially a New York crowd, nobody's going to give a shit about Cody. People are going to cheer Cena and boo Cody anyways, right? But now if Cena's face, when they boo Cody, Michael Cole can say, oh, it looks like the audience, it looks like the WWE Universe has forgiven Cena there, Wade, you know? And then Wade's going to be like, it's a mistake, Michael, you know, shut up, you know? Nobody gives a flying fuck. The truth of the matter is, this exposes everything wrong with wrestling today. If Cena really is face again, then this is just stupid. The face turn is one of the worst face turns of all time. Like, no joke. This is like the kind of face turn that like Carlito would have, you know? Like a random ass episode of Raw or SmackDown, Carlito just turns face. You know? It's not a well thought out face turn, which by contrast really exposes the heel turn as well. It makes the heel turn look really stupid because basically it was useless. Cena turned heel for no reason other than to get some attention, to get some clout, as the kids say. And then he saw the error of his ways for no reason, right? It's not like something happened of value that made Cena think, oh man, I really fucked up. You know, I really shouldn't have turned heel when I did. I really shouldn't have gone over to the dark side. But all that happened is one of the 15,000 beatings he's been receiving at Cucky Rhodes' hands finally got him to see the error of his ways. Well, why didn't this happen before Mania? Why didn't this happen when Orton was laying him out? Why is it that it took this long for Cena to realize the error of his ways? So that's why I think it's a bullshit face turn. But even if it's a bullshit face turn, Cody Rhodes looks like a retard for just accepting it at face value. He's like, oh, that's good, John. And then they drink a beer. Like, if Cena turns out to still be heel, Cody has no reason to feel betrayed again or to be upset. Right? The same way that Rey Mysterio has no reason to ever be upset at a tag team partner that betrays him. Because in kayfabe, Mysterio is a retarded man who hasn't realized yet that everyone betrays him, that he's very betrayable. But anyways, a bunch more shit happened, so let's talk about that. After this, they show a clip of Logan Paul and Drew beating up Jelly Roll at what appears to be the Performance Center as he's training. Jelly Roll is not atrocious on the mic, and Logan Paul and him have a back and forth, but it's nothing like noteworthy, right? Nobody's entertained by any of this because nobody really cares about Jelly Roll, you know? But we see it anyways. And then afterwards, as if this weren't enough, we're going to see a lot more of this shit. Then we have a Julia versus Zelina Vega match. This is a match of complete forgettable nobodies for the US title. In my personal opinion, neither Julia nor Zelina has ever drawn a dime. So as far as I can tell, I could give a shit if Julia beats Zelina, if Zelina beats Julia, if fucking Alexa Bliss interferes, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares about the outcome of this match. Nobody cares about the title. Nobody cares at all. The only way that these titles can be used, the US and Intercontinental Women's titles, is to have like a Jade Cargill type wrestler win them and then go undefeated for like a year and a half, right? And then kind of be content with the mid-card title until they're no longer content, and then they go and they win the world title. Basically, they should be used the way that the Intercontinental title traditionally was used until like the early 2000s or even late 90s, right? Because there was a string of Intercontinental champions that like you knew were never going to become big, right? Like, and people that I like too, like Jeff Jarrett, D'Lo Brown, I like them both. The Godfather. It's like, you knew these guys were never going to be main eventers. So, like, they shouldn't have been Intercontinental Champions. Goldust, you know, the list goes on and on. Then after that, it went even more downhill. After that, it was like Shelton Benjamin was winning the Intercontinental title. Carlito was winning the Intercontinental title. Like, people that, like, never are going to make it in the main event, and, like, we all know they're not, you know? And then, obviously, as time went on, it went even more downhill with people like Zack Ryder winning the title. With people like fucking, let's see, Apollo Crews winning the Intercontinental title. With people like Finn Balor winning it. Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose. People that it's like, dude, you know these guys are just mid-carders. They're never going to be main eventers. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. The point is, this match is irrelevant, but Julia wins with the Northern Lights bomb. I watched it, so you don't have to, motherfucks. After this, we have a solo interview. Basically, the whole point of this segment is to announce that it's going to be Big Jimmy Uso versus Talatonga in his debut tonight, motherfucks. After this was my least favorite segment of the night. We have Legado del Jobber come out for the first time in about 8 months on WWE television. And we are reminded that they are the AAA Campeones de Parejas, or whatever the fuck they're called. They're the tag team champions of AAA, which should tell you all you need to know about AAA. The best wrestlers in AAA are people that wouldn't make it once every 8 months in WWE TV. They're complete shit, right? And I'm fucking sick of it, all right? I'm sick of it. I understand that other countries, like specifically Mexico and Japan, have like the concept of lucha libre and, you know, puroresu, right, in Japan, right? But the reality is, and nobody wants to call it out, I think it's out of some weird fear of being labeled a racist or like some sort of like American exceptionalist. But the fact of the matter is that there are exceptions. You know, you got your Rey Mysterios, you got your Tajiris, you got your Eddie Guerreros, which Eddie Guerrero and Mysterio are Americans, but nevertheless, I think they did a lot of their formal training and like a lot of their upbringing in terms of wrestling in Mexico. So like you have a few exceptions, Jericho as well, you know. You have some exceptions, but the fact of the matter is this, man. Nobody wants to say it, but Japan and Mexico fundamentally do not understand pro wrestling as a concept. They don't get it. The Japanese pretend it's a real sport, and the Mexicans pretend it's like gladiatorial combat where the mask is like the best thing ever. You know, it would be like a big shame if someone unmasked a luchador and wiped their ass with a mask, you know, which I think would make a very good, like, fucking storyline, you know. Maybe they'll wipe the ass with the mask of El Grande Americano, you know. But that's pretty much where Mexico and Japan stand. Like, they don't get it, so their wrestling is largely shit. Now, I will say this. The Mexicans and Lucha Libre, they try to at least put on good matches, right? They're the ones who invented, like, half of these cool moves that we like. Like, you know, Hurricane Ranas and shit like that. You know what I mean? So, and a bunch of these topes. Tope Suicida, Tope con Hilo. You know what I mean? All of these are like big time, you know, Lucha Libre type moves. But now that we learned about Lucha Libre, we can just have El Grande Americano for all I care. So basically, Legado del Jobber are doing like effectively an open challenge for the AAA titles. Oh, I'm sorry, motherfucks. I thought I was watching WWE SmackDown. I didn't realize that I would tune in to AAA. If I wanted to watch AAA, I would tune in to AAA. And then me and the 3 other guys that tune in would watch this garbage match, which was complete shit. Maybe next week we can have Felipe Escalante defend the East Slovakian Championship Wrestling World Heavyweight title. You know what I mean? Because at this point, this is no longer WWE. What the fuck do I give a shit who the AAA champions are? I don't give a fuck, motherfucks. But the opponents are some idiot called Psycho Clown, whose gimmick is that he is, you guessed it, a psycho clown, and the overrated and overhyped Mr. Iguana, who is a retard painted in green, who has a puppet of an iguana that he bites on and uses as a prop during the wrestling match. Unlike the Cobra that Santino Marella used, or Mr. Socko, right, which comes out at very specific parts of the match to do a finishing move, the iguana is there the entire time. How is this even allowed? You know, maybe in AAA where there's like no actual rules, but in WWE, right, you're not allowed to bring foreign objects. This is not normal. But anyways, the match is complete shit. It really highlights how bad the people involved are at wrestling. It's like a fucking sideshow act. AAA, like WWE bought it. I hope they didn't pay more than $35 and 2 t-shirts because this federation sucks ass, And if you didn't think so, you could watch this match. So basically, Angel y Berto are here and they show up. And then these 2 guys who I don't know if they're affiliated in Mexico or not, or they're just 2 random guys that are put together to have this match. They wrestle, right? At one point, Mr. Iguana tries to do that cool Rey Mysterio rope shit. Eddie Guerrero would do it too, where they're on the ropes holding the other guy's hand, and they just bounce on the rope. But because Mr. Iguana sucks, he slips, and he completely botches it. And then tries it again, and it just really takes me out of the match. Because Berto or Angel, I don't know who was holding his hand, was just standing there waiting for this asshole to try it again. This would be okay in certain contexts. But it's not okay when this is a guy that puts an iguana in his mouth, right? If you're going to take yourself not seriously at all, then you're going to need to show me that you can at least do the moves in the ring. And if you can't do the moves and you don't take yourself seriously, then I fucking hate you. And that's what happened, I didn't sign up to watch this shit, but here I am. Berto then forgets who the legal man is and pins the other guy, right? Because these people don't understand how wrestling works. They're just confused. There was 4 men being confused, not knowing what the fuck is going on. That's how it came off. It came off as amateurish. It came off as pedestrian. It came off as inferior, motherfucks. After this, then Berto and Angel do like a double military press slam from the middle rope, which the announcers tell us is the super MTY, right? It's an avalanche MTY, which is their finishing move. All the MTY is they spin the guy the other way around. But they do this move to Mr. Iguana, they pin him, and Mr. Iguana just kicks out. Nobody breaks up the pin. Mr. Iguana just kicked out of an avalanche double team finisher, which pretty much means that these guys should never use that move ever again, because it can't even put down a fucking retard called Mr. Iguana who comes out with an iguana puppet that he bites on. Do you fucking hear what I'm saying? This is what wrestling has returned to by going back to the roots of Lucha Libre, I guess. We went from a point of Hulk Hogan, rest in peace, and The Rock and Booker T to a guy called Mr. Iguana kicking out of avalanche finishers while he holds an iguana in his mouth. So he kicks out of this shit. Then they're all confused. They're exchanging tags. Nobody knows who the legal man is. And eventually what happens is one of these 2 jobbers, Berto or Angel, are holding Mr. Iguana in like a German suplex type position, right? Mr. Iguana just gets out, right? He just escapes this by doing nothing, dives and tags in Psycho Clown for the hot tag. Psycho Clown goes up to the top turnbuckle and goes for a crossbody. This was presented as a hot tag, So I'm going to assume this was by mistake. If it was on purpose and it was just fucking Berto y Angel Los Garza motherfuckers countering the hot tag, that'd have been perfectly fine. But I know that's not what happened because he goes for a crossbody. One of them takes the crossbody, I shit you not, and the other one does a dropkick to counter the crossbody. So now nobody knows what the fuck just happened. Nobody knows whether Psycho Clown hit the move or whether it was countered. So despite cross-bodying one, right, the other guy kicked him. So then the guy that got cross-bodied gets up and no-sells it because he forgot to do the dropkick spot because nobody in this match knows what the fuck they're doing, as I've said. Then they pick up Psycho Clown, they hit the regular ass MTY and pin him 1, 2, 3. So in other words, Mr. Iguana, the retard, can kick out of an avalanche MTY after taking a significant beating. Psycho Clown gets tagged in for the hot tag, does a crossbody that gets half countered, I guess, then gets in with a finisher, not an avalanche finisher, just a finisher, and that's the end of that, right? Mercifully, we don't have to see these people ever again, hopefully. There is a chance that we never have to see any of these 5 people, including Santos Escobar, again. I believe that they're on the way out, motherfucks, and I believe that this match should really solidify that. I fucking hated it. The match was abysmal. It was boring, and it really highlights how bad AAA is. Pretty much, motherfucks. If it's not in WWE, it's shit. And if it is in WWE, it's probably also shit. But this is the best we got. After this, we see Kathy Kelly asking Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul to address the ass whooping they put on Jelly Roll. I don't know what there is to address. It's very obvious they don't like him, so they beat him up. what question does this broad have? You know, what is the question here? Why'd you do it? We don't like him. And like Logan Paul's been saying it for weeks, he's an outsider who's trying to use WWE as a stepping stone. But despite answering this simple-ass question, Drew and Logan say, we'll address it later in the ring. Fine. Nobody gives a shit, but at least this segment is over. After this, we have a long-ass match between Damian Priest and Aleister Black. And because this match has two jobbers, right, this is effectively the same thing as Sheamus versus Rusev. It's the exact same thing. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Sheamus is basically the same thing as Damian Priest in terms of the fact that neither of them have any kind of character at this point. And they're both like people that stand out and in my opinion deserve better. Then we've got, obviously I've made this comparison before, Aleister Black is just SmackDown Rusev, right? They're the same fucking thing. They came back around the same time to fill a spot of jobbers. And that spot they did fill. So the match goes on for a fucking eternity. Aleister Black then hits Damian Priest with a chair and then whoops his ass after the match. So there is no decisive winner, which of course, unfortunately means we have to see this again, right? I'm going to make another video explaining that WWE doesn't pull the trigger on people. And the person that I'm going to focus on is going to be R-Truth. And the reason I bring that up now is because, motherfucks, R-Truth should have been mentioned or should have made an appearance in this match. At this point, right, the fact that they rehired R-Truth has no bearing on anything. Because if the fans were clamoring that R-Truth be rehired just so that R-Truth can have some money, then great, R-Truth is getting paid. But if the fans were clamoring because they wanted to see R-Truth, then none of that has materialized. It's been a complete disaster. As a matter of fact, everything that's happened since WrestleMania has been completely deleted, even by John Cena saying that it was a mistake to turn heel. Whatever. I could give a shit. After this, we've got Tiffany and Jade talking backstage. Nothing here, important. Basically, Jade says, I'm going to win. And then Tiffany says, I'm going to win. They don't even have catchphrases. At the very least, at this point, if I see Jacob Fatu doing this, at least I'll hear something like, you better get in where you fit in. You know what I mean? Hey, it's better than what Jade Cargill does. I'm not saying it's great, but it's better than what Jade Cargill does, It's as simple as that. That's just how it goes down up in this bitch. This was a forgettable segment, so I'm not going to pretend that anyone cared about it. After this, it's time for Talatonga versus Jimmy. There is some excitement here just because it's Talatonga's first match, but it's like Jimmy Uso is such an undercard jobber that like nobody believes he has any chance, which also makes no sense because he's the exact same build as Jey Uso and he has the exact same moves. There is no reason that Jey Uso is better than Jimmy Uso in terms of kayfabe, right? It's not like Jey Uso started like training and learned new moves or did something better. He just got over. And apparently in kayfabe, if you get over, you also become a better wrestler. It's really, really poor booking, but that's what we get. So basically the match starts. It's your typical Uso match. The 3 moves of doom, the 5 Samoan moves are all done. This culminates with Jimmy Uso going for the special Samoan move, the splash. He does it, and then Talatonga, don't blame me, motherfucks. Blame this fucking Samoan, stable for having dumbass names. So he goes for the splash, and Tala pretty much just puts his hand up and catches him, kind of. For some reason, Jimmy just doesn't follow through with the splash because he just lifts his arm up and just catches him while he's laying down, gets up, choke slams him, and that's pretty much all there is to it. He pins Jimmy Uso clean, as one would expect, because Talatonga is a big motherfuck. Now, after all this happened, this is not enough for some reason. So Sol Sikoa brings out the rest of the MFTs, and they put a thorough beating on, on Jimmy Uso. Then, as the cage is being lowered, Fatu comes out. Right? He comes out, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, it's going to be your classic, I'm going to come save my buddy, then I'm going to get my ass kicked. No, Jacob Fatu just beats up the entire 5-man faction. It's unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. We've got Solo Sikoa, we've got Talatonga, we've got fucking 4-man faction, I guess, Camacho and Jeff Cobb. He beats them all up, motherfucker. He beats them all up. I don't know what to say about this. Look, I get it. People like Jacob Fatu, but, there has to be limits, right? Not even Hulk Hogan, rest in peace, could beat up 5 people, right? But here we have it, Whatever, it's just really dumb. This is effectively the last match of the night. Then we get Charlotte and Alexa. They do their A-Town Down under thing, they do it like in reverse though. Like instead of fighting about being friends, they're fighting about not being friends. The shtick is already old. Like nobody really cares. This is like a very poorly put together idea. After watching WWE Unreal, I can see those 6 idiots who have no idea how to book TV at all, right? It's people that really don't get it, in my opinion. I mean, maybe Bruce Pritchard and that Koski guy, they've been doing it for a long time. Michael Hayes definitely gets it. Everybody else, like they got all these young guys that there's no reason to think that Bobby Roode gets it, you know? I like Bobby Roode, but there's no reason to think that he understands like the creative process. But whatever, they're there. It is what it is. You know, it goes down the way it goes down. And that's pretty much it, motherfucks, you know? It leads to nothing. The entire thing is just an interview to show that they're like still friends but not friends. And then ultimately what happens is, I don't think there's a match that came out of that. I did get a little distracted because I spilled something. Maybe there was a quick match. But anyways, in my notes here, it says that the next thing that happened is Drew and Logan come out, right? Of course. Drew and Logan come out to make good on their promise earlier about addressing the whole Jelly Roll situation. They come out. Logan Paul says the exact same things he said a couple of weeks ago about Jelly Roll being an outsider trying to come in and use the WWE as a stepping stone. Drew McIntyre makes a few fat jokes, and it just really reminds everybody that Drew McIntyre is a fucking jobber at this point, man. Like, this Drew McIntyre is legitimately comparable to the Drew McIntyre of 3MB. Like, he has about as much chance at beating Randy Orton as Heath Slater would have at beating Randy Orton. Like, he is now back to being a nobody. Drew McIntyre for like 2 years has been losing matches. I can't remember the last time he won a meaningful pay-per-view match. I mean, he beat Damian Priest at WrestleMania, but I hardly think that's meaningful, you know? And then since WrestleMania, he's just lost everything. He's embarrassed himself a bunch of times, and now he's going to lose again. You know what I'm saying? It's really that simple. Drew McIntyre is probably going to get that pin. He's going to get RKO'd and probably like choke slammed or black hole slammed by fucking Jelly Roll, which is disgusting because he is a former WWE champion. I mean, unless WWE like just has Jelly Roll take the pin, which would hurt nobody, like not even Jelly Roll. And it would also, but at the same time, it would also not benefit anybody either, right? Like, does anyone care if like Drew McIntyre pins Jelly Roll? This is like a no-win match. The only person that wins here is Jelly Roll because he gets some exposure. Nobody else gets anything out of this. Randy Orton, I know he wants to stay for 10 more years, but Randy Orton is probably like on his way out, you know, before he becomes a massive jobber. Like, that's just a fact, you know? And Randy Orton should be out there wrestling for the world title, not wrestling with Jelly Roll, you know? That's a Damian Priest job, you know? That's a Miz job. I hate to say it, but it's true. So anyways, that's how that goes down. Then Jelly Roll and Orton come out, and they eventually make their way to the ring, and they brawl. And this leads to a situation where Orton and Jelly Roll are surrounded by guards, by like fucking security people, right? Orton RKO is one of them, and then there's another one who's kind of small, standing there being like, please don't beat me up, please don't beat me up. Jelly Roll just choke slams him. Jelly Roll doesn't even have the decency to put his other arm on the guy's ass to pretend that he was lifting him. Because what happens is Jelly Roll just grabs this guy's like throat, and then the guy just jumps really high, and Jelly Roll just moves his arm and pretends to choke slam him. It's just really stupid, you know? Like, we all know that Jelly Roll cannot lift this man with one hand. Like, nobody could lift someone like that with one hand. Maybe like legit, like someone like Kane, it could be believable. Like Kane could do like a no arm choke slam, just the hand around the throat. But even that would be like a tough sell. So there you have it. I mean, that's been your Friday Night SmackDown review. I fucking hated it. I hope everyone else enjoyed it, I suppose. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for SummerSlam Night 1. But realistically, let's be honest, nobody gives a shit about that either. Look, I can't wait till SummerSlam Night 2 just because I want to see if Cucky becomes champion again or not. I don't think so, but, you know, we'll see, right? Cucky is, I think, the only person that can, at this time, take Cena's title from him. So, you know, that's why the match is interesting, because it's like Cena might actually lose. You know, it's not like when Cucky was champion and he was defending against like Carmelo Hayes and AJ Styles, who have no chance of getting the title. So there you have it, Cucks. Take care of yourselves and go fuck your own mothers.